Recording. Welcome, ladies and gents. Welcome to the second part of our Monday evening lectures here at the Astrological Lodge of London. Our second speaker, she's giving us a part 2 to her talk on Prashna, the Horary, the Vedic Horary, or Horary from a Vedic perspective. Sonal Sachdeva, she's no stranger here. She's actually on the Astrological Committee. She's our former vice president, or one of our former vice presidents. She's an astrological speaker, writer, a Vedic consultant. She works at the Watkins Bookshop, highly acclaimed, one of the oldest esoteric bookshops in London. From computer systems, she migrated into making films and videography, has her own YouTube channel. Her astrological foray began with a diploma under Liz Green at the Center of Psychological Astrology. Now she focuses on Vedic astrology. She is a student, well, still student, but learned under the great Pandit Sanjay Rath.
I do have my certification after
Oh, you got
9
your
long
certification
years.
now. Okay.
Yes, it's the Jyotish Pandita.
Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. So she's up there. She's also launched a number of divine astro essences for skincare well-being products also as well. So without further ado, we have Sonal Sachdeva. Over to you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Let's begin with the Ganesh mantra if everybody is okay with that. Om Gananam Tva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavin Kavinamupamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashranvannutivasida Sadhanam Om Ganeshaya Namah. Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for listening to this topic, which is a little bit complicated, but some of the rules have a lot of similarity to the Western medieval astrology or horary. In fact, I don't know which is derived from where. I don't know if you guys recall. I'm sure Israel can share the recordings for people who didn't attend the first one and they would like to. It was really we touched upon different aspects of Jyotish and so on and so forth, and how asking a question, in Kerala, it is like, well, all over the country, but especially in Kerala, it's called the Ashtamangala, where they invite all the astrologers and they draw it up on the ground, and then they have these 8 little squares or circles, and then they and various auspicious symbols, and are used in order to make some kind of a prediction. It could be something as simple as like, hey, when's the rain, or if the village is being afflicted by some kind of a illness, and they will, when is this going to be overcome, and so on and so forth. So anyway, so these are some of the symbols that we went through last time, so do have a look. And it's always nice to have these auspicious symbols anyway at home, because it's like good feng shui to have these, especially the fishes and the parasols, but we are all sort of familiar with all of that. Now, we also talked about the karmic script, how various different kinds of karma, which can be very clearly seen in the chart. So I won't bore you with all of that, and the prashna, and how to put a query, and where the eyes go, where the hands go, which we will see a little bit more about the signs when somebody asks a question, and so on and so forth. So let's leap ahead, continue forward. I think I left it over here, right? Somewhere. Yeah. So basically, obviously, other than asking the exact time and place, then the nature of the spot, that is in which country, or what is the setup, is it sort of like a little, is it well lit, is it sort of very posh and pretty settings, or are the settings sort of really run down and maybe in a heart or like in really dire circumstances? So all of that will play a huge role in when you ask a question. And I will never ever underestimate the power of great surroundings, as you will see. That just by being in a great surrounding, and if the omens are, or we call the nimitta, are positive, and there is by Brihat Samhita of Varamira, who was a great astronomer, and a great astrologer, and he was a Raj Jyotish. Raj Jyotish meaning somebody who is serves the king, a bit like Johannes Kepler, who was also a Raj Jyotish. That means he served the kings of the times. The idea being that they had to advise him on the good times, and if there's a war, so on and so forth, how to deal with it, and when to go at war, and so on and so forth. So all of these, when the person asks the question, the surroundings really matter, right? And so does the nature of the breath of the astrologer. How is the astrologer feeling? And last time we talked about some things like how is the astrologer, has partied all night and come back and he's kind of drunk, and he's still having a hangover, and his breathing is not right, and yet he's gone over and done um, a Prashna or a Horary, and which is not really ideal at all, because you're going to get adverse results. And God help the person, the querist, as well as the query or the questioner. Then we have the astrologer's own condition, like whether he's suffering or unwell, and so on and so forth, and what the questionnaire touches, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So these are all some of the things. Now, touching the following body parts, let's just continue with the touching of the body parts. The it is auspicious at the time of query. It is, sorry, not auspicious if you're touching various parts. And again, I will go much more, a little bit in detail about that. And especially, like I talked about the gandanta or the junction points, that is, if you're touching the joint of your hands, like elbows or something like that, these are all the joints, and they indicate also the joints in your chart. The gandanta, they are like karmic, very karmic hotspots, you can say, because it's like from fire to any signs, any of the trilogy, that is a water trilogy, last degrees of it, going from the end of the water signs, that is Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, and moving into the first few degrees of the fire signs, they are called the hot spots. Okay, and these are very lethal, they are very difficult points in the chart, because if you have a planet there, then it's like a karmically in a bundled up knot, and they have a lot of, they're carrying a lot of karma. So if somebody asks a question and you see in the chart that the lagna, the ascendant is that way, then it is going to be a really tough situation karmically. Okay, so another thing to consider is talk about Arud Lagna. That is, it's like a, you could say, it's like a supplement Lagna, and everybody should use this. Even, I mean, Western astrologers can use it too, because it will give very powerful results. Um, which cannot be explained by normal ascendant. And this ascendant, it's called the Arud. Okay, now what does that words in Arud mean? In Sanskrit, it literally means to mount. That is, you can see the Bhadrakali or the Durga, the fierce, absolutely fierce, who kills all the, all the Chanda and Munda, the demons, and she's cruel and wicked. And then on the other hand, you have Indra on the other hand. So it's a combination. So it reflects this particular sign called Arud Rashi. Rashi is nothing but a sign. It's a zodiac sign, a Rashi in Sanskrit. And Arud literally is a particular, and I will go a little bit in how to calculate it. Anybody and everybody can do it. Okay, so this particular sign, if there is a transit, let's say In a Prashna chart, whenever you cast, or the most softwares will automatically bring it up, but it is highly, highly hotspot. Even in your natal chart, wherever your Arud Lagna is, that is ascendant, it's denoted by AL. Wherever AL is, it's like a real hotspot. It's what you appear to the world. So it's not your actual ascendant as well. It's how you appear, how you behave, how there are so many things can be derived from there. And other people, like let's say transiting Rahu, Ketu, Saturn, or Mars, if it aspects this particular Arud Lagna or ascendant, it will really absolutely get fired up, and there will be absolutely mayhem in terms of what it will be reflected. It is a point of absolute manifestation, 100%. Wherever that is in your chart, watch it. Okay, anyway, this talk is about, so this I mean, I can go on and on about this Arud Lagna because it's a very powerful point in the chart. And so this Arud Lagna is very important point, and the way to calculate it is very simple. Okay, if you are all familiar with your charts, the North Indian, we'll use the North Indian, forget the South and the East Indian. The North Indian, let's say here the rising sign denoted by AS is Mars. And maybe I will take the glyphs chart, maybe that will be easier. um Let me do that. Sorry, I'm skipping because, yeah, there we go. Is this easier? Okay, so here the rising sign, here you can see Taurus is made, a sign Taurus is made here. And so the AS is nothing but the ascendant, and the Mars is rising, and the line underneath shows it's retrograde. So Mars retrograde in Taurus, and then you have second house, so it goes in this, one second. Sorry. It goes in this way. I'm just looking for a little scribbler, but it seems to have disappeared. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Israel, can you see the mouse? My
Yes.
mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
see it. Yeah.
The purple one. So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the pointer. So here, if you follow like 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the first house, then the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So the sun is in Scorpio in the seventh house, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's say here the lord of the sign is Taurus here, and the lord of Taurus is of course Venus. It has also other ruler, moon, but we won't, for the right now, for our purposes, we will consider Venus. And so if you count the number of houses till Venus, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So Venus is in Sagittarius in the 8th house, so it's 8 houses from the ascendant. So from Sagittarius, from the 8th house, you count that many houses, that is 8 houses. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the AL or Arud Lagna or ascendant comes in Cancer, in the sign of Cancer. And that is a very big one, okay, because this point, this sign is going to be extremely important, not just in the Prashna chart, but this rule applies even to your natal chart. So this is one big takeaway you can do to analyzing your chart, okay, in terms of even the Prashna, it will work. So this is shows the reflection, the Maya, how you are, and so on and so forth. So the from point of view of Prashna, it will show you what is the situation, what is appearing to the person, how it appears to the person versus how it is. There is two distinct differences. Okay. Next we see that the direction in which the querist is sitting, east, west, sitting, whether he's falling off the chair, so on and so forth. all of these gain a lot of importance. That's a huge consideration. The other thing is the first, like somebody sits down in a chair, okay, and then they say, oh, but, okay, so, oh, suddenly, that is the first word they uttered, okay? It is what they utter, not what you utter, okay? So, there, the first word uttered by the querist. So, if they say, oh, by the way, did you see something like that? If they say, you ignore all of that and you just take the first letter, and that letter becomes very important. Each letter has a sign attached to it, and here there are these signs. Aries, um Aries has got, can everybody see this,
Yeah.
Israel?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
I can
sorry.
see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
So okay, I found the annotation. Okay, so here you can see that Aries has got ch, chi, chu, che, cho, le, la, li, le, lo, So this chart is what we use literally for everything. We use this for naming children. We use this for naming everything. Okay, there are other charts too for name. Sorry, for other considerations, but for naming and for, let's say, like Anita. Okay, so Anita, because that's the first thing I can see. Anita is a sound, which is a sound, so it is going to be A in Aries. So she will have something very vital in Aries. Okay, I don't know what she has, but we can talk about that later. So anyway, so that so let's say if the
I've
person
got
says,
sun in Aries, so now.
sorry.
I've got sun in Aries.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you had moon also in Aries.
Moon in Taurus.
Okay. Okay. I knew you had something in Aries. So this is a sign. Every time there is a transit to Aries or something like that, because her name begins with the letter and it is in Aries, and there is a planet mapping to that sign, Aries, any malefic, Venus, or general benefics we all know are Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, of course, Jupiter being the greatest benefic, and Mercury and a full moon, or a waxing moon, that is, that not a waning moon, that is, it's like increasing in its light. These are all benefics, and here any of these transits will affect her, including if there is Saturn going through Aries, then it will affect her persona, because her name begins with A and the Aries is being constellated, or rather triggered and activated. So the same principle also applies to whenever somebody says, a querent comes in and they say that, okay, I had a good day today, or it's a lovely day. So suddenly we look at E sign. So what is E here? We have to look for the letter E, and where is the letter E?
Taurus.
Yeah, sorry, Taurus. Yes, you're right. Okay, thank you. I'm like fishing around. Okay, yes, E. So usually we are meant to have this by heart. So you see, so we know that when the person says something like that, it is related to the sign Taurus. Okay, absolutely. If you have like last week, there are a little bit of like rituals and little bit of like little small rituals you have to do for an astrologer to do, a jyotish to do. And if he has done that well, and if he has done like a little mantra which you say for protection and all that, then you will be able to be very beautifully, it will work, this principle. And this will work, that who knows, that if they have uttered a certain word, it may even match that particular sign, and it may even match their name, or the whole query literally exists around that particular sign. Maybe there is a malefic transiting that particular sign or rashi, and then it's suddenly they are being triggered, and So, there are no coincidences, as we say, as Varamira says, everything is a nimitta. Nimitta is nothing but a omen, a sign. Whether it's good or bad, it's our jobs to be able to read it, to decipher it, and to be very sensitive towards it. Okay. So this is a very good chart. If you guys want to save it, it's there all over the internet, but it is but of course these are Sanskrit sounds. So let's say somebody's like Adam also. Okay, Adam will also be like in Aries. Let's do Israel. Okay, Israel is where Israel is
Well, it depends if you're using an I or E.
yeah, Israel.
So it might be E.
That's why I said it's not how it is spelled in English. I know in English is um, I, but
Yes.
it's actually the Sanskrit is a phonetic language, and because it is phonetic, we go strictly by sounds. So here, I mean, obviously, I haven't given the Sanskrit and I've given you the English one wordings. That's why I'm a little bit confused. If it was E, I would figure it out straight away. Like so it would be E, so it will be Taurus. So he will have something in Taurus that will need a lot of attention, so on and so forth, and let's move forward. So everyone got that, right? So for example, my name is Sonal, so, okay, it's literally the way it sounds, and it's also the same way in Sanskrit and the same way in English as well. Sonal, so, and here it falls under the sign Aquarius. Aquarius is my fourth house, and guess what is transiting there? By sidereally, it is Saturn. And what am I thinking of? Oh, I think I should be moving. I think I feel like moving my home or something like that. You see, it is the fourth house. Wherever Saturn comes, suddenly everything is going to shift. For 2.5 years, then, that house will become like the highlight for all kinds of karma. And if it is in the fourth house is real estate, fourth house is home, fourth house is how happy we are with our situation, and so on and so forth. So all that will be under evaluation. So the rules are very clear, the principles are very, very clear. Okay, so we got that about the sound. Okay, so here it is. There's the Sanskrit one, chu, chechu, and here you can see Aries the same way on the right hand side. This is the English one, and this is the Sanskrit one. So it's a lot easier for me with the Sanskrit one. So yeah, so okay. Anything, any questions? Nothing? Okay. So now we talk about the movement of the querist. It is a duty of an astrologer to examine that how he's sitting, what is the motion, and so on and so forth, like I mentioned before. Let's go into a really interesting part. Okay, now this gets really interesting. The organs that point to a male are thighs, nipples, testicles, feet, cheek, hair, arms, throat, nails, thumb, armpit, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the organs that point to a female are the brows, the nose, the buttocks, folds of the belly, the hip, the fingers, and with good lines, tongue, neck, calves of the leg, heels, ankles, navel, sides of the chin, eyes, the breast, or lower part of the spine. So why are we interested in all this? Because every time the person will touch something, let's say they have touched their hair or something, it is pertaining to whether it's a male or a female issue. So there we go. Then, okay, the organs that point to a hermaphrodite are head and forehead. Let's say you have somebody who wants to have a sex change, and then what? So then they will probably be touching their head and scratching their head and forehead, but these are all some of the signs. And you may say, well, does it really work? Well, I tell you one thing, as we will go, there are many, many signs, and some of them which I will cover, I have seen it in my practice, they do work. And I will give you a simple example of that. Okay, from the same text, there is a particular we are all familiar with the nakshatras or the fixed star constellations, correct? So the certain nakshatras, okay, it is very auspicious to buy good clothes or new clothes and then you wear them in that. I'm not talking of like festivity, like you have Christmas and you have like Diwali and all of that. Those are all fine if you are wearing like new clothes because it's part of the festive season. You are allowed to wear new clothes and it's absolutely fine. But if in the absence of any kind of auspiciousness or any kind of festival or of that, and certain nakshatras can trigger calamitous problems if you use or sorry if you wear new clothes for the first time. So for example, there was one particular clothing I wore when I was in Goa, and it was like really hot, and I just bought this like little t-shirt, and I went into the sea, and I had a like a long skirt. I loved that skirt. Okay, I had that skirt. I loved that skirt. See my past tense. Okay, and then when I came back, it was like in the sea, and it was beautiful, like gorgeous warm water and everything, pristine, clear, sandy beach. And then when I came out after an hour or 2 hours, I came back to the room and I was just flipping through something and I thought, oh my God, my skirt has torn. And guess what? Just the day before, I had read this particular chapter of Varamira, that which nakshatra to wear, what clothes, new clothes. And I had like completely forgotten, or I got mixed up the nakshatra. And it said that if you wear new clothing on that particular nakshatra, you will have destruction of clothing. And I was like, oh my God, there goes my favorite skirt. It was ripped. Maybe it was a tide or what, I don't know, but I was swimming in that skirt for like literally an hour and a half, because I was too lazy to go and wear some other, swimwear or something. But that's the point here. So this really is scarily, it works. Okay, anyway, so coming back to the topic, that place is known as Samasthana, which is shaded by trees, fruits, overgrown dwelling places where the devas and the rishis, that is, the energy is beautiful, as you can see in the picture here. Sadhus, siddhas, they're all fragrant flowers, and there are crops, abundance of, there's like water. It's not flooding, it's not drought. All of that are good, positive places to times to ask. What is not a good place? Where they have found like burnt trees or cut up trees, or suddenly there are like worm infestations or ant infestations, and very ugly and crooked or inhibited by like bats and all that, evil birds and all that. So, and where there are like tons of dried leaves where nothing has been cleared for ages. So all that is kind of has a very tired energy. It has a very ominous energy. So stay away from places. And supposing you do manage to, like, let's say, find a shed which has got like all kinds of like woodworms coming out, be careful not to get some consultation in there, and as the person is asking you and you're looking at the woodworm coming out, or sort of locusts and all coming out. So that's scary. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, now, what is not a good place? Where there are butchers found, gamblers, ascetics, deceased people. So don't ask, and where there may be, or which may be a place where weapons or liquor may be sold. So please, do, if you have to do serious question and a serious thing, it needs, you need, as an astrologer, you need to give that commitment to that person. And so you need to surround yourself into like auspicious things, and like little bells, and which are auspicious, and not be like, okay, let me just do something on my phone at a pub or something like that, because that is good for like for a laugh and having a little bit of fun. But to do a serious reading in a pub, or somewhere where they are selling weapons, probably more applicable in America, but never mind. So all that is absolutely prohibitive. Okay, why would far as far as Varamira goes, it's not recommended, and including Prashna Marga. Okay, Then we have the good and bad indications of, there is even a whole chapter dedicated to what are the signs when you're going off on a journey. Okay, so all that is important. Okay, if at the time there be seen an old man, a Buddha, an ascetic, or a sannyasin. Sannyasin is again like a female ascetic or a monk. And so these matter quested relates to a friend. So let's say you are doing a reading and somebody knocks at the door, or you are at a coffee shop and someone walks in. You are busy with the chart reading, and there is an old man who walks in. Then you know that the quested relates to, there is a query posed by the questioner is related to a friend. Okay, so on and so forth. So and then if the cheshta refers to the belly, cheshta is nothing but the movement. Let's say he's putting his hand there, or there is kind of he's laughing and he's like putting his hand on the belly or something. So then the query may relate to one's mother, and if to the head, it's to one's preceptor; if on the right or the left arm, respectively to one's brother or brother's wife. So there are many nimittas or signs. There are many other things. Now we come to a very interesting part. It's about pimples. Now this is another one, but this is strictly not part of the Prashna, but I love it. Okay, I use it all the time, and we all get some kind of marks or pimples or little moles coming up or something or the other. It comes on often. Okay, so these become very relevant, so try to notice it. You may even get a client who may have like a pimple on the chin or the neck or something. Of course, the other personal areas, you may not be able to really say, oh, where do you have the pimple, but but it is a very interesting for your own takeaway. Here, if it breaks out in the head, there will be acquisition of wealth. If the crown of the head, there will be good fortune. If in between the two eyebrows, there will be bad luck and the meeting of friends. Oh, that too. Maybe because of that, bad luck meeting of friends. If between the eyebrows, there will be loss of character. If on the eyelids, there will be some kind of sorrow and the gaining of the desired object. If in the temples, the person will turn out to be a hermit. So there are many indications. Then coming, you can, I can put up the slides if you guys want to, towards the end. So if the pimple breaks out in the joint of the head, the neck, the heart, the two nipples, the two sides, or in the breast, the person will get respectively a blow with an iron rod, a blow, a sun again, any grief again, so on and so forth, respectively. Now, again, do not take it literally like iron rod. It could just be like you're walking and you hit something, or hit a end of the door or something. It could be as simple as that. um, and getting a son and a son again. So that could also mean that it could be that somebody, you maybe already have a son and he comes to visit you. He's away at the university and he comes to visit you, or it will be like a friend's son who comes and who's kind of you're his godparent or something like that. So all those have many implications. Okay, now we have, if the pimple breaks out in the hands, so on and so forth, it is acquisition of wealth, good luck, or grief. Okay, and let's see. Okay, and if it breaks out in the navel, the person will get good food and drink. If under the navel, there will be theft of the property by robbers. So watch out for that. If a man's okay, and a young woman, good sons. If in acquire wealth, well, oh, God bless. Okay, so anyway, it's a little bit fun. You may think it's quite fun, but again, there's a body acne map also. Hormonal this like scientific way, but I think I have known that some of these things do work. Okay, but by all means test it out. If the pimple breaks out in the heels, soles of the feet, there will be loss of anyway. So that's a little bit of repetition.
But we won't be able to see these on the client.
No. That's what I said. This is something for your own personal thing for
Okay.
takeaway, you know.
Okay.
And but by all means, you know, some of them you'll be able to see totally on their faces and neck and all that, right? Unless they're like covered all the way to the polo neck or something. But you know, by and large. So but you could always also ask them, you know, if you had to. But this is something interesting about, if you, these also consider, so it's not just pimples, it could be eruptions, boils, breaking out on the right side, and hurts as like if you fall down and get a scrape or so on and so forth, occurring on the left side of the males indicates acquisition of wealth. And if it is on the right side, it's reversed for females, then also it means acquisition of wealth. Okay, now that doesn't give you permission to go and scrape yourself deliberately on the right side just to get, otherwise we'll have lots of people doing self-harm here. Anyway, just a little fun. Okay, now a little bit serious and we plug on. So the astrologers study the good and bad aspects of the query, and his prediction will be duly inspired. So basically, another way of finding out is, of course, a chart. Looking at the chart, the ascendant becomes extremely important. I went through the Arud Lagna, which we went. So now we come to the ascendant. Is the moon in the ascendant? Is Saturn in the quadrant that is angular? And Mercury is combust? Then maybe the querer, the person who's come in, the querist, is not really telling you, he's not very serious about it. Okay, he may not take your advice carefully, so you have to watch out for that, because that also you will run the risk of. Okay, if there are malefics, in fact we are told in the tradition, Vedic tradition we follow, that if you are not to do the prashna, because we do prashna for every time a client walks in, or for that matter, if let's say somebody has phoned me and said, okay, they need a reading, and then I will do prashna randomly. It may not be just when the person I'm going to see the person, but if I see planets in the 12th house, malefics, okay, I'm talking only of malefics here, so add that also to that. That means the person who's going to come, he's not going to pay attention to his astrologer, no matter who it is. Okay, so tell the person, hey, look, perhaps because it's bad karma, we spoke about the karma, because sometimes the karmic burden is quite a lot for people who come. Anytime you do the chart, there is a karmic exchange going on, absolutely 100%. It's not as simple as, oh, I'm just looking at the chart. You are going, there is an energy exchange, there is a karmic burden as well going to happen. So if you have malefics in the 12th, forget it. Okay, just tell the person, hey, come back in 6 months time. That's really what I would say. And the querist intentions will not be honest. So if the moon and Saturn is in the quadrant, Mercury is combust, that is, it is very close to the sun. Mars and Mercury aspect the moon in the ascendant, and or a malefic joins the ascendant, or Jupiter or Mercury cast an inimical glance on the Lord of the seventh. So all of these conditions are, they can, one single condition or two conditions can be met. But when is it a good one? Okay, when, on the other hand, if Mars or a full moon and Jupiter aspect the ascendant, and if Jupiter or Mercury throws a friendly aspect on the Lord of the seventh. So you are having 2-3 conditions which are very important. If there is a malefic, let's say there is a malefic, let's say Saturn is in the rising sign, okay, then you need some kind of benefic aspect, ideally by Jupiter, maybe trines to Jupiter. Okay, now here is this chart I have put up. I'm going to just put up one chart only, and we will just study a little bit of that and little inferences. This is a phenomenal chart. I was at a conference in India, in Bhubaneswar, in Puri, okay, which is one of the holiest cities. And it has also got the Konark, the Sun Temple, which is one of the most amazing. It's like a natural sundial. Okay, the Sun Temple is one of the great monuments, and so on and so forth. I don't think there is any Sun Temple on the planet which is as spectacular as the one in Puri. It's like thousands of years old. In fact, the remains of that are lying at the British Museum as well. Okay, so anyway, coming back to, in fact, I do want to share a story about this, that it is said about the Sun Temple, the Konark it is called. Konark, Arka is a sun, and Ko is like the whole, it's the whole temple, the temple is like a temple of Brahma and Surya all getting together to create this monumental, it's like a phenomenal piece of architecture. How did those stones get up there? And machinery about, because it was a sundial, it would read time accurately. And it is said that if it was plundered or messed about, if any of it was dismantled, then wherever those pieces go, that civilization, that country will come to ruin. And guess what? When the British came, they have taken part of that onto, and it's lying in the British Museum. But hey, who's to say, when history is nothing but it keeps repeating itself. So who's to say what is going to happen in the next 100 years? You and I may not even be there to let's see the ruins or whatever. But anyway, coming back here, the Lagna, it was Taurus. Okay, so essentially I was at a conference in Bhubaneswar. I had a sparkling visiting cards wallet. It's like a tiny made from a white metal, and it's like a little mirrored and all of that, and it had my all my credit cards, my Indian credit card, my UK credit card, my identification, everything. And literally I misplaced it in the room of my guru. In We had a suite and we were all sitting there chatting, and then I had my talk the next day. It was a conference, a Jyotish conference, and I lost my card. Can you imagine? I had loads of travels after that to do. To lose money like that, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I was berserk. And this is just the day before my talk. So there you go. Guess what? Mars is on Taurus on the ascendant. It is retrograde, and the sun is in Scorpio in the seventh house. Now, these is malefics, okay? There is also a Rahu Drishti. What are the chances of me finding it? Zero. And was I not serious about my query? I was super serious. I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, to get any kind of cards done in India is going to be a long, drawn out process. Okay. I was just not in the headspace. There were lectures to attend, there was talks, there was loads of stuff going on. And then it was impossible. So I said, I have to find it. It has to be somewhere. Okay. I checked twice already, twice or once I went to check. Nothing. I was sitting on a couch, and that was the only place I could have found, and nothing. And everybody remembers me fiddling with the cards and all that. And then I don't know, it disappeared on the way back. It was a bit of a way back. And then what happens? Nothing. And then I did this chart that evening. I called up concierge, everything, nothing. The cleaners, no effect. Okay. And so I thought, I was gutted. Okay. So Mercury, Jupiter or Mercury throws a friendly aspect. Now the Lord of the Ascendant has gone in the eighth house. That means it's hidden somewhere. Venus. Okay. It's in Jupiter's sign. So that's very auspicious. And it is Mercury. Mercury rules wallets. Mercury rules money. Mercury rules all of that. Okay. Now, the other lord of the ascendant is moon as well, okay? Because Taurus has got two lords. One is Venus and the other one is moon. And their moon has gone in Gemini in the second house. That means moon is opposite Mercury, and Venus, which is very positive, okay, because that means at least a lot of the ascendant is being aspected by Mercury. Okay, it is in the 8th house, it's going to be difficult. So what happens next? Okay, so let's see the processes. Okay, the first, I will reveal the answer, don't worry. So the first query to be read from the ascendant, second from the moon, third from the sun, and fourth from Jupiter. So you could ask up till 4 questions. So I had only one question: where can I find my wallet? Where is it? That's it. There was only one question, that I want to find my wallet. Okay, I didn't care whether it was like whatever. That was my only question. And typically if you throw too many questions, then it gets muddied. Okay, if only one question is answered, the prediction cannot go wrong. So essentially, ideally you need to be asking only one question. But one question means, let's say, oh, am I going to meet a man in the next 6 months? If I pose that question to somebody, the other questions are sub questions, so they are not different questions. So you cannot say, oh, can I buy the property? Or that will be a number 2 question, which is coming from the moon. Then the number 3rd question, can I have a child? That's number 3 question. But it is considered only one question if you say, am I going to meet somebody in the next 6 months? How is it? How is he going to look? How is it? What kind of job will he do? What kind of where will I meet him? So these are all sub questions of the main topic. When am I going to meet him? Am I going to meet him next 6 months? So you understand. So ideally, if you don't want the prediction to go wrong, you should encourage only one question. It can have sub questions and then you can figure it out, but not like 2-3 questions and you're bombarded. Then it becomes very murky, but it can still doable. Second, third from the sun, and so on and so forth. Okay, the house which is associated or aspected by the Lord flourishes and yields its results fully. So let's say if you have Lagna Lord, that is the Lord of the ascendant, aspecting the ascendant. Let's say it's Sagittarius rising and Jupiter is in trines to Sagittarius. Fabulous. Absolutely very, very positive. Okay. Then we have many other rules. We have the nakshatras, we have to see the quality of the time, but it gets very complicated. I'm going to give you a very simple snapshot of it. Okay. The 5 auspicious omens, omens are seen. So if you are able to detect 5 auspicious omens, then you don't even have to continue with the Prashna chart. It is done. It is success. Okay. Okay, so we will skip that. This shows whether a planet is in exaltation, if it is suffering, if it is in enemy sign, so on and so forth. So all this you will have to evaluate. You have to look at everything very carefully. Now, combustion is a big topic. Okay, even in the natal chart, combustion is a very painful thing. If you have if you are Gemini rising and you have Mercury, it combusts with Sun. Okay, it's very painful, it's very depressive. You have to give up on your what do you call give up on your excessive greed, because Mercury rules all things which are to do with commerce and communication and business and so on and so forth. So you will have to get over it, because that is very painful. So Mercury combustion. And then we have even rules for if it is retrograde. Remember, if a planet is retrograde, it is very powerful. It is 3 times powerful. And I will come to this, that when this chart about my missing wallet at a conference, here you can see that Mars is retrograde. That is, the 7th lord is retrograde. That is very powerful. That means it will do everything in its power to make it happen. 3 times it will try, not once, not twice, thrice. And the same rule apply even to your literally to your natal chart. If you have a planet retrograde, you're going to keep trying. That karma, you cannot sleep without doing that karma. Okay, and these are the degrees for these are the degrees for combustion. Okay, and there are some remedies here too. Anyway, so the planetary indication is the sun is the east. So we'll go quickly with the sun. They are more or less same to the western one. The sun is east, the moon and royal, father, caste, blood red color, wavering temperament, honey colored eyes. Moon is also milky white. Vaishya, there is moon is Vaishya caste, meaning it is to do with business. People who have strong moons and strong Mercuries, they love doing business. They want to be merchants, they want to be involved in buying and selling. All of that is part of the moon. But the moon is also very sattvic in nature. It is a Brahmana Raja. That means it is the queen of the night, just like the sun is royal and the king of the day. Mars is rules the summer season. Kshatriya is, it is a fighting nature, fighting class, blood red, commander in chief, so and so forth. Mercury again is like bluish hue, tall body, impotency. It rules minerals, hair apparent, ability in writing, so on and so forth. Phlegmatic and bilious nature. So all of these, are similar to the Western. I don't think any of you will have problems. Rahu indicates dhatu. Dhatu means something that is made from like a substance, metal or something like that. All that will fall under dhatu, okay? It's not like living, it's not like organic matter, but inorganic. Tuft of hair, vegetables, moola, that is like vegetables which grow underground. So all of these, and Ketu will be similar. Rahu also rules machines, big machines, and so on and so forth. And indicated by Saturn, and becomes very strong in angular from Mercury or Saturn. Okay, so all of that is signification of Rahu. Okay, so now first house is again the same things as we know, our longevity, sorrow, complexion. So all that you'll have to see very carefully what house it is going. Second house. So my is rules, precious stones, minerals, wealth. See, wealth, credit cards. Mine was Lord of the Ascendant was in the second house and the eighth house. What Venus went in the eighth house. Remember, everybody remember, here it is. Everybody remember, my Venus, the Lord of the Ascendant in here, Taurus, one ruler went in the second house. Second house is all wealth. Eighth house is the other ruler, Venus went in eighth house. What is that? That is other people's wealth, right? And what is a credit card? I'm borrowing for a month, or I pay off the bills, right? So that's all through banks and stuff. So that it was lit up, second house and eighth house. So you have to see, the query was perfect, I'm telling you. And I won't tell you the outcome just yet, okay? Just 5 more minutes, Israel. Okay. So
no problem. Okay.
Yeah. So the third house rules sisters, brothers, siblings, and all of that. Fourth is tracts of land, vegetation, plants. Because the fourth house, remember I said that when Saturn passes through your fourth house, you may consider moving the country, moving your home, through your community, because fourth house is where we feel at home. Okay. It's to do with home. Properties come under fourth house. So fourth house is about medicines and healing because it's a natural house of Cancer. So hence, fourth house rules all of that. Fifth is rulership over pregnancy, issues, wandering, spells, and incantations. So all the magic, black magic. Well, if your malefics, connected with your sixth house and your fifth house, then definitely you may be into black magic, so on and so, or somebody else may do black magic on you. That is also possible. You can come to me and say, hey, someone's been doing black magic, and then it will show up in the chart. It will show up in the Prashna chart as well. If there is a connection with the moon and the fifth house and the sixth house, because the sixth house is definitely some enemy has done some kind of cursed you or done some black magic. Okay. Anyway, so then we have the so on and so you I think we all know about the sixth house: enemies, diabolical deeds, obstructions. Seventh is trade. Eighth is other people's monies, river crossing, wayside suffering. It is suffering because it's chronic diseases, clandestine hidden acts and deeds, evil deeds, lost property, enemies. And I did have a loss of property, my wallet. Remember, Venus in the eighth house, lost property. That was my lost property from the bank. Ninth house is ranks, wells, lake, water reservoirs, deities, blah, blah, blah. Then the 10th is governments, rainfall, celestial phenomena, position of the father, meritorious deeds, and then we come to the last two, 11th house and 12th. Enjoyment, renunciation is the 12th house. 11th house is signifies elephants, horse rides. 11th house is a very interesting house, and staple, gold, daughters, gain of wealth, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the significations of each of the houses. Now, this chart, okay, how do we see that? Oh, sorry, that's the, okay. Another one principle I want to say, okay, the object, whatever the ascendant is, or the ascendant lord, I would say, need to be a head rising. What is a head rising? Which is a day strong sign. So here I've made a little table. So for example, I will take my original example, okay? Oops, sorry. Is this the one? No. Okay. Sorry, guys. Give me a moment. Okay. Okay, I can't find that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I will give you just this example. It's very simple. If you can see a head, back. So here the rising sign is in Libra. This is a Prashna for today. I didn't ask any question, just the chart of the moment a few hours ago. So this is for today's Ketu South Node is in the Lagna, and it is Libra. And here you can see the head rising. Ketu is in head, so it is head rising. So you have two rising, back rising and head rising signs, and then you have only Pisces, which is head and back rising. What does that mean? That means signs which are happens to be head rising are very strong signs. Okay, so and then there are back rising signs, so are like something which are night strong signs. And then Pisces is the only exception because it can rise with the back as well as the front, okay, which is the head. And so ideally if you get Pisces ascendant, it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Especially, let's say you get Pisces ascendant and you get Jupiter in Pisces or Venus in Pisces, it is as a Prashna chart, absolutely fantastic. So there are a few things which are very, very positive and so on and so forth. That doesn't mean that you won't have success if it is not head rising and it is back rising, or it's only, it will take some time. Okay. Now, okay, so let me reveal some of the things about this chart. Okay. Now, this particular chart, if we just analyze it, it is in the second house. Both the lords, they are aspecting it. Jupiter is aspecting the seventh house. Let's examine the seventh, because it's not just the lord of the rising sign. You also have to see the seventh lord. Okay. That is very important. The seventh lord. The seventh lord is got Scorpio. It has got sun. So we already know that it is very strong. The seventh, the person is desperate. Sun stands for father figures, for, CEOs. And it did happen. The whole situation happened in my guru's room. It was happened there in his, he was holding a, like a, you know, lots of people were coming, like literally not a class, but like literally we all went to meet him. You could say the sun is also stands for the CEO. So he was the top CEO or the king. Hence the sun is in the seventh. Okay. And we were all sitting down. So it wasn't like I lost when I was running somewhere or some, no, we were all sitting down very comfortably in a very nice seat. Okay. So the Scorpio's got two lords. One is the south node, which is gone in the sixth house. Ketu, which is the south node. Ketu often shows things that disappear. Okay. It's in the sixth house. It has kind of disappeared. It's lost. And the other lord is Mars. Wow, it's retrograde, but and it is on the ascendant. That is phenomenal, because what this is showing me is that Mars is very, very well placed and it is retrograde. That means I will be desperate. I will try so much. Now, the principle I was told, when I did this Prashna, I was like, oh my God, maybe I will find it. Why did I say that? Because the principle is simple. If ever you have lost something, including a property, and that lord has gone retrograde and it turns up in a very nice house, you will find it after trying 3 times. So I was told, so I had to then walk because our conference room and dining was a little bit far off to his villa, you know, in the resort. So I had to like walk there. I dragged a friend along. Friend is depicted by Jupiter in the 11th house. She's the one who suggested it. Fantastic, very, very strong. You know, she's the one, she said, oh, I'll come with you, let's go searching. First time I went by myself, it didn't happen. Second time I went with her, it I think it we went in a hurry or something. And the third time it we went, she said, okay, you know what, let's go. So we went in a group. So I had like literally quite a few friends of mine, and we said we are going to find it. So we literally raided his room. His wife was there and she's like, Sonal, we have early meeting, our conference is about to begin. So they had like a little suite and there was a little room and they were, and it was packed. So she said, just go and search, do whatever you have to do, okay? And Saturn is aspecting Jupiter, right? And that shows where, because Saturn is in its own sign in the 9th house, which is fantastic. That means there's a lot of seriousness. There is, you know, my guru was having discussions, this, that, all of that was pointing to that it is going to be auspicious, because it's the 9th lord is aspecting the Lagna. It is very positive. 9th house, wherever it goes, it is very, very positive. Okay, so, and Jupiter in Pisces in the 11th, great fortune, fantastic placement for Jupiter. So then it is 3 times that third time I said, somebody said, one of the people said, you were sitting down, check under the seat. But I looked under the couch, there was nothing. And then my friend lifted the pillows, big fluffy pillows. You know how 5-star hotels are, big fluffy pillows. And lo and behold, there it was, shining smack in the middle. Yeah, I love that, Anita. I love that. You are enthusiastic. So you see, 3 times I had to try, but you can imagine my plight. I was mortally disturbed because I had loads of travels to do. As you can see, Venus and Venus in the 8th house, I was like going crazy. When the Lagna Lord goes in the 8th house, Lord of the Ascendant goes in the 8th house, it's a bit traumatic, okay? Even if it is natally, it's not going to be easy. So then, but it worked out in the end. So 3 times, after 3 tries, you know, I was told. And thank God for the group that friends came along. They said, we'll sort you out, we'll come with you. And we went, and that is what. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. So you see, so the moral of the story is, if you do a prashna and if a planet goes retrograde, check the house. That thing it'll come back to you. Of course, you will have to try. They need some kind of a positive, a thing. Now, this Arut sign is very auspicious here, okay? As you can see, it is in trines to Jupiter. So that means the query is related to the moon, which is the other lord of Taurus. And there is a loss, and it is in the second house of wealth. So that is extremely positive. So the moon itself is aspecting the lord of the ascendant, which is Venus. That is, again, these pluses are adding up, you see. You see that. And the lord of the seventh, which is Ketu, and Venus, that is Mars, but they both dispositor is Venus. So you see that Venus, my friend, did hold a lot of friend. Venus is with Mercury. Mercury rules friends. You see, and is angular to Jupiter. Jupiter is in Pisces. Venus and Mercury both are in Sagittarius, including the moon with an aspect of Jupiter, Drishti. So of course, that Jupiter really helped me out, and that Mercury. Everybody getting it? Yeah.
And also with
Yeah,
the sun
yeah.
in the seventh, the sun represents the guru, so it was in the guru's room. It wasn't like elsewhere in the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, Anita. Spot on. Absolutely. 100%. Thank you for adding that. Yes, indeed. It's like the CEO of the place, because there were some like 100 people there in that resort conference. So, so I was like, wow, this stuff really works. I was petrified of doing a prashna, because it's one thing doing it for a client, because there's no detachment, you see. There's no there's no attachment to it. You are kind of far removed from the situation, so you can be quite you can be judgmental or not, it's up to you. But if it's your own thing, I could not see the fruit from the trees. All I saw was that Mars retrograde, and I thought, oh my God, maybe I will find it. Maybe I will find it. So I had to ask one of my friends who's an expert. And he said, oh yeah, you'll find it. Go. He told me 3 times, remember, Sonal? And I said, oh yes. How many times have you checked? I said, once only. He says, go 2 more times.
Okay.
And I spent 4 hours in a bank in India many years ago, just changing English pounds into rupees.
I know.
And I was nearly getting marched out by security. I was like, why is this taking 4 hours? Just give me rupees. Here's the pounds. Give me rupees. Why do I have to get in 10 different queues and fill in 10 different pieces of paper? Just give me my money.
Exactly.
Going, madam, stop shouting, please. Like 4 hours just to change money. Oh my God.
Exactly. See, Anita, think of my plight. I had so much
pain.
My ATM,
no help.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine why I was so frantic? Because I had ATM cards, I have credit card, everything, Indian credit card, Indian ATM, my foreign UK ATM cards. I was berserk. I was like, what? And what is my fate is sealed. But I had helpful friends, because one even offered. He said, I will pay. He was from the UK, and he said, I will pay for everything, your hotel bill, everything. Don't worry about it. We will sort out, and whatever money you need, and then you can sort it, pay me later in the UK. So I wasn't, but it was so inconvenient. So you see, it's nightmare, but it works out. So that was the beauty of doing the Prashna.
Okay, great stuff.
Yeah.
Are there any questions or comments, add-ons to this very detailed? It definitely seems as though, well, you know, of course, when somebody's asking a Prashna question, that there's a lot to take in, because you know, you got to be aware of what the person is wearing, the conditions of the environment, the colors of what they're wearing, if they're having.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that because I probably, and certainly 80–90% of my readings that I do, I don't even see the person.
Yeah, but
I don't meet them. I don't do it face to face. I do it as a sort of a postal consultation almost, you know, email, or I just record it and send it out.
But I suppose in that sense, well, there's two things there, I guess, Adam, is what one, she's talking about Prashna, which would be a horary. That's one. Number two, if you was doing a horary in that fashion or in that style, I suppose you would probably need to pay more attention to what's happening in your surroundings at the time when you receive the question.
exactly,
and you're dealing with it.
Precisely.
So you got to use whatever you've got, I guess.
But it is that, but Adam, it is still powerful because you have to see. Earlier on, I mentioned about the breath, the astrologer. There, what is how is he feeling? You know, is he unwell? Does he have a miserable throat? Does he have a pounding headache? You know, is he kind of like, or is he like surrounding himself with nice oils and lavender and smelling and well, and he's happy, and then he's doing a prashna, and then the chart. You know, it all depends on how the person is. It's not about the other so much, because this is an energy exchange. The more fine-tuned you are, more sensitive you are to the omens around you, you will know what the outcome of the other person is going to be. You see, so it doesn't matter if the person is not there, and if it is just written stuff and postal thing, that's fine. But you have to then look very closely at how you're feeling, and you know how things are with you.
And I suppose, Adam, I mean, how you're doing readings is not really far off from how it was actually in ancient times. I mean, because you had situations where perhaps the astrologer was in another town and he would send a rider or someone or a messenger to go and give the astrologer the details or whatever, and then the messenger might have stopped off at an inn or stopped at whatever, got held up, or different, whatever the case is. You've got to take all of that into consideration.
Absolutely.
I recall, I think it was Bernate or one of them who was explaining something like that he sent there was a message that was sent to him by a client, and he a very wealthy client, and the messenger got held up or something, or he stopped at a whorehouse or something like that on the way, and he ended up staying there. It was meant to be like 2 or 3 days, but he ended up staying there a bit longer, than he should have, and the message didn't get there for about another 4 or 5 days. And it was just all this commotion that was going on. And Bernate said that when he did the chart, he had the Mercury and Saturn was on the ascendant and all that kind of stuff, and it was kind of displaying all that the delay and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was quite interesting. So I suppose that would kind of go for but no, interesting. A lot to take in when doing a Prashna reading. And then what you said earlier on about the Sun Temple, the temple of Konark. I'm just wondering if it's in any way related to the Sun Temple in Egypt, the Temple of Karnak, which is actually the biggest temple, supposedly the biggest temple in history, definitely in Egypt, and it's in honor of the sun god. It's still there. It's not half of, well, I mean, the roof is not there, but I mean, a lot of it's been.
Then you have to see the Sun Temple, but because this is
No. The one in India, I've seen the one in India. That one is pretty much intact and it's still very much thing. But there is one in Egypt called the Temple of Karnak, and I'm wondering if there is, because the names sound very, very familiar, and they're both to the sons of the sun gods. The one in Karnak in Egypt as well is for the sun god, and I'm just wondering, is there any connection or link or connection with both of them, because they're both sun god temples and they both have similar names. So I'm just wondering whether, I'm not suggesting whether one is better than the other or anything like that. I'm just wondering if there's a connection in some way.
I don't know. I think it could have been inspired from the original Konark, because that is a Sanskrit word.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's yeah. I mean, Karnak is a place in Egypt. That's the name of the temple of Karnak. It's in Luxor. I actually visited last year, even when I went, and it's a huge temple. It goes on for miles. It's
same as this one. It's massive.
This one goes on for miles, and it's in honor of the sun. So when you said Karnak, I was like, huh? That sounds like the one in Egypt, and it's a sun god. When you said it's the sun temple in honor of the sun god, I was like, the one in Egypt is one for sun god as well. You know, it's built for the sun god Amun Ra. So it's quite interesting, I thought.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's any connection there, but who knows?
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Any questions, any comments to that?
I like the idea about, if you do a horary, that you should be near water and be in a nice kind of park with trees and everything. I mean, I'm not a horary astrologer, but I do natal charts, I do predictive charts, and you literally just a 5-minute walk from me is a lovely park by the River Wandle. So it's just making me think, just before I do a natal chart reading, maybe I should just pop to the park for 5 minutes, and get all that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Huge.
But I suppose with a horary, it's different, because it's whenever you get the question, I guess, or whenever the client comes to you. So you can't, it's almost like there's something like outside of your control. You can't be at a nice river with nice sightseeing all the time.
But you say that one could easily, you don't have to ask the question. Let's say somebody has booked a reading, and as Anita said, if you have booked a reading and then just 5 or 10 minutes before to absorb the energy, she could do a prashna while she's there, to just note down the time and just be there and do it on her phone or something and bring it back into the software, because that will be very interesting, because she's got that whole surrounding and all that. And then she can read the chart later. It doesn't matter.
Are there any books? Are there any references, books to?
Yeah, I said that last time, right? There are let me
there's any books that maybe one can get that can.
And I wondered if clothing matters as well, like the color of the clothing. I mean, I don't do horary. Yeah, I know I've got to study for years so I'm just doing natal stuff. But yeah, you mentioned pimples and lots of things touching your body, but you didn't really mention clothing.
Yeah, she did last week.
Yeah,
she did.
I wasn't there.
Last week, yeah, she did at part 1. She mentioned clothing, colors. She went into all of that, the place, the colors. Yeah.
So the Prashna Marga, there is 2-3 books I would recommend, like the pimples one and all that. That's the Brihat Samhita. Then you have the Prashna Marga and Prashna Tantra. So these 3-4 books I have used quite a lot. So those are my favorite go-tos. Then they have the few other ones. This one, Deva Keralam, also has a little bit of the Deva Prashna. I think there's one other text by I think it's called the Ashtamangala Deva Prashna. It's like a book in itself, so that could also, by Krishnan Poti, there's another author. So he also has got some books. I haven't read that, but predominantly I have read only the Prashna Tantra and the Prashna Marg. They both are absolutely brilliant. Prashna Tantra is by B.V. Raman. It's a fantastic book.
Oh yeah,
Fantastic.
I've got some of his books. Yeah.
Yeah. So that I would recommend, and it is very easy to read. Anybody can pick up the book and read.
Right, yeah.
There are some basic rules, of course, you have to follow, but yeah, it's extremely easy to. It's not difficult at all.
Okay, okay.
So.
Cool stuff.
So.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone?
But you were saying that we can use. I mean, I can see obviously quite a lot of the principles which align with Western astrology, but you wouldn't advise we take this exact same method. And I mean, for a lot of things, yes, it can work in both systems, but there's perhaps certain things that probably are just thing for the sidereal or Vedic astrology. Would you say that one can take these principles, and for people who do a Western horary, they can apply the principles, or you wouldn't?
No, I think they can't, because you see, I don't know about Western, but I do know that some time ago when I was discussing this subject with Kim, I remember she's saying that a lot of the because I know she has studied Western medieval or Western traditional horary in depth, and she mentioned that a lot of it has come from the Indian horary. Now, you cannot migrate the rules like that unless you are taking the same principles along with it. And the same zodiac. I would not use, like, because the different house systems and all, it's going to be total mess.
Right. Okay.
I would not recommend it, because you can't combine both systems. They are distinct systems, tropical, and you cannot mess with the systems. You have
Has anybody tried?
Sorry?
Has anybody tried to merge the two? Not merge the two systems, but like if I was to do a horary chart and then bring in some of the things like a traditional Western traditional horary, but brought in some of the things like what clothes they're wearing and things like that.
That is okay, but that is okay. I'm talking of the core principles. Definitely, you can't.
They must be similar. The principles.
Yeah, the principles are very similar, but they don't have. For example, the Panchang is a big part of horary. Okay, of Prashna. Panchang is like the nakshatras and all of that. There are no nakshatra. They are Arabic mansions, and but there are the nakshatras are used, like the day of the week you're born, what nakshatra you are born in, what tithi you're born in, that is a sun moon angle. All that you can ascertain. Even you don't even have to jump into the chart. You can just look at the Panchang, which is the Indian almanac, and figure out what the day is going to be like. Some days are awful. Ekadashi, which is like when just the 11th phase of the sun and the moon. It's diabolical. People do fasting at that time. Why? Because we know that it is tough. Like, let's say yesterday is Amavasya, right?
You're still there.
Yeah. Yesterday was Amavasya. That is a new moon, right?
Yeah.
And when there is a new moon, sorry, I'm holding my, I can't get up and, okay. When there is a new moon, okay, it is basically the night sky is completely dark. So Rahu is very active then. Rahu is very strong. So this is not the time to do readings. On Amavasya, you will never ever pick up a chart. You won't do it. It's not auspicious time.
But when there is no moon, the night is the most beautiful because you can see all the stars.
That is true, but think about, absolutely, that is true. But the moon is not visible. The moon has lost its light. Think about it.
That's true.
The moon is like, where's the moon disappeared? It's gone. So you may well see the stars, but that is from an astronomical point of view. But from an astrological, how it works in the chart, it is very difficult situation. It is not an easy. And compare that with the full moon, or people who are born towards the full moon, you know, like gibbous moon onwards. It's so beautiful. It's powerful, the moon, you know. It's extremely brilliant, the moon. And moon is all the power, you know. It is not just about the power of the sun, but also the power of the moon. Without the moon, nothing will work. You know, the moon is extremely vital. So you need the power of the moon as well. The other place you will never do a chart, other time when sun has just entered 0 degrees of any sign. Never, ever. The sun at 0 degrees, I'm talking of sidereal degrees, please note. It is absolutely troublesome. It's like the emperor taking his clothes off, right? He's about to take his clothes off, but that 0 degrees, it's like he's taking his clothes and he's naked. So, you know, but before he wears another clothes, before it moves on to close to 1 degree, the sun is in a very difficult situation. People who are born on, and it is called Sankranti, people who are born at the 0 degrees of sun have a lot of problems in their life. Wherever that sun lands in, whichever sign, you know, will have some big issues connected to that part of their life. Huge issues.
Wow.
Huge.
Can I just put a different? So obviously, you know, it's going to be the solstice this week. So in Stonehenge, there's a load of people that are going to be there with the Druids being very active.
Yeah.
But you know, that's when the sun is 0 degrees.
But she said sidereally.
Oh, sorry.
Sidereal.
Okay.
She said sidereally,
Sorry.
so that won't count for her.
Yeah. Okay, you're right.
It'll count for
Yeah.
Western astrologers, yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but 0 degrees is a very tricky. The other tricky degree is, I remember I said karma is there when you have from a water sign, it's jumping into sidereally water sign, and it's about to jump into a fire sign. That's very difficult. So the early degrees of fire sign, like I don't know, Jadranka, ask Jadranka what her moon is, because I remember her moon is in Mula or Purva Ashara, but she's lucky if it is in, I think her moon is in Purva Ashara in Sagittarius sidereally. But if it was in Mula, you know, she wouldn't be as lucky as fortunate. Ask her.
Mula, the sign of
Yeah,
Mula.
you could ask her yourself.
Jadranka, no, because I think she's trying to say something. I can't
No, I didn't say anything. I just said that I like nights with that Miller sign.
Sorry?
You're on mute, you drunk.
I must go. Sorry. Bye.
Oh, God, bedtime.
Yeah.
Adam said he's off as well.
Yeah. Getting
Been up
late.
late. Okay,
Yeah.
no worries. Listen, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you,
A lot of
Sonia.
food for thought.
Yeah.
So now,
Thank you.
really enjoyed it. Yeah, and next week we're back at the Rudolf Steiner house. Yeah, and next week we've got Lucian. And in the second half we got I think it's another Patricia actually. In the second half, but Lucian's kicking us off, and then yeah, Lucian first, and then in the second half, oh no, Marielle Chukwari or something. I can't remember. I can't pronounce the surname properly, but she's in the second half. So we're back at Park Road tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have
That'll be
fun.
good. I'll be
Thanks a
there.
lot, guys. Enjoy the rest
Thank
of the
you.
evening. Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
See you next
Bye.
week.
Bye,
Good
Anita.
night,
Bye,
guys.
Jill. Bye,
Bye.
Fred. Bye. Bye.
Bye.